Kindness Institute and the Mental Health Foundation of New Zealand have launched a Mindfulness Month for August, and as I use Zentangle in a mindful way, I wanted to share the practice with others for the month. So I have chosen 31 tangles which I feel work particularly well with keeping your attention to the task in hand, keeping your focus on nothing else but where your pen is travelling now. I will pop up a video every day for the month of August on my YouTube channel. If you feel in a position to support this endeavour, you can send a donation to the Mental Health Foundation to support a better mental health system. Then please do. Meanwhile, enjoy following along to each of the videos every day. They are no more than 10 to 15 minutes long. Each one, I hope, gives you an improved focus, and as I demonstrate them in a mindful way, and at the end of it you'll have a beautiful collection of tangles. Each day you are going to need a few very basic supplies: a pen, a pencil, a tortillon or a paper stump. This is a type of blending tool for blending the graphite. If you don't have either of these to hand, feel free to use something simple like a cotton bud, or even, of course, your finger. You'll also need a piece of paper. It might just be a bit of card, about 5 centimetres by 5 centimetres, or in fact any other shape. I'm going to be using a hexagon in these demonstrations, or you might simply want to use a page in your monthly mindfulness journal. This is where you can simply draw a shape that will act as your boundary to draw your tangle within. In Zentangle, we call these paper squares or shapes tiles, so that we can build them up into a mosaic. So I'm going to just pop the tools I need for the day aside. I'll move everything else away and we'll get started. In Zentangle method, the first step is gratitude. So we're just going to be very grateful for just the very simple tools and materials they're going to work with today. The next step is to draw we're just going to draw a little string. Because I'm not working on a standard square tile, I'm going to work on an hexagon. I'm just going to draw my string with the pencil, and I'm just going to draw a string that just outlines my shape. Sometimes people choose to pop in some corner dots. Because I don't have corners, I just have angles, I could just pop a dot on each of my hexagon angles. And now I'm going to draw my string. I'm just going to draw a line between the dot and the next dot. Often with Zentangle we're using small tiles, so it makes it easy to do that same repetitive, deliberate stroke, just rotating the tiles around. Once I've got my boundary, then I can start to do my tangling within. If, however, you've perhaps chosen to pop it inside one of your pages on your journal, feel free just to open your page and just draw a shape with which you want to pop your tangling within. Once I have my boundary, which can act as my limits, we can get started with our pen. The reason for this boundary is that it now tells us where we need to stop. And also, having the decision made for you about where to stop means you have to stop making decisions about where to start and finish on the paper. So taking this decision making is key to letting out you go along with the flow and allow to focus on just one thing at a time. The tangle that I'm going to demonstrate on day one is a very simple tangle, and it's often the first tangle that many of us tanglers learn. It's a beautifully simple and engaging tangle with a little bit of drama, a little bit of aura, and a lot of forgiveness, openness and acceptance, and it's called Crescent Moon. So as you tangle along with me, remember that I'm not expecting a copy of what I have drawn. You must do your own thing. I only ask that you approach this with a smile, and whether you're new to tangling or not, enjoy these 10 minutes together. So to draw a crescent moon, I'll pop my pen lid on the end of my pen, and I'm just going to draw a little crescent that just comes off the edge of this boundary, this section. So if I just draw a little crescent, a little C curve, I'm going to rotate the tile round and draw another one. They don't need to be even, so you might just draw them quite flat, or they might be quite bulbous. Doesn't matter how you draw your C curve. It might be different to mine, and that's absolutely fine. I wonder how you draw your C's. Just like our handwriting is all different, so will our tangling be. You can see I've rotated the tile around until I'm back at the beginning, where I first started with my first crescent. I'm then just going to take my pen and seal it off. So each of these crescents is a little shape here, which I can now fill with drama. Some people like to start a drama at one end and slowly make their way across, filling the section. Does not matter how you choose to fill. Just concentrate on popping your black in the lines. Then rotate your tile and repeat. Some people like to go round the outside edge again a couple of times with their pen and then proceed to fill. Just concentrate on where that pen is going. If you've got some very narrow C's, there might just be a small sliver of black that you're filling. If you've gone quite bulbous, I've got one here on the angle here, you might want to throw in a little orb inside your black, and then take your pen and gently fill around the orb and into the rest of the crescent moon space. You might instead choose to pop in a smile. And again, fill around the smile. These added little extras of what we in Zentangle call sparkle can really lift a tangle up. Each time I'm rotating the tile round so that I can do the same repetitive stroke as I go. If you're working out of a notebook or a journal, it might be a little bit more difficult to rotate, but it's an easy way to make life easy for yourself, and that's what it's all about. If you have a little oops and go slightly wider, don't panic. Just accept the line as it is. Fill in the rest, and maybe perhaps just make your curve a little bit bigger. And suddenly your little oops has turned into an oopsitunity. And you've got a slightly bigger curve all the way around until I finish that step. The next step is teaching something called aura. This is where I'm going to use this existing curve that already exists, and I'm going to draw an aura line that follows that same curve around. I'm going to use my boundary string line to tell me where to stop. And I'm going to repeat that on each of these curves. Just notice where the pen is following the black curve, heading round to repeat the same stroke over and over again until I'm back at the beginning. And then I will do another aura. Again, I'm using the line that already exists to show me where to pop this curve. You can do a continuous line, or if you like, you can have a pause and restart the line. If you find that you can't squeeze in here, don't squeeze a line. Just gently accept the way it is and carry on again. You may find that your line begins to bounce out of the same position, the same start and stop. If I can't squeeze the line, I don't try. And as we go, you begin to lose track of where was the start and the finish. And I'm just going to draw these aura lines to slowly fill up the inside of the section. Each time, really notice where the curve is. Slowly and deliberately pop in these aura lines. If you have an oops, maybe your line goes a little bit wider than you meant it to, don't worry, just accept it as it is and carry on. Each time I'm rotating my tile to gently fill the space. Sometimes you end up in a spiral-like fashion, sometimes you don't. Either is fine. As I said, if I wanted you to do a copy like mine, we could have just taken a photograph. I would like you to concentrate on your line and where it's heading. And I will slowly keep going until I have completed to fill in the whole tangle, or I might choose to stop and leave a little bit of space in the middle if I like. Perhaps I might even start another little crescent in the middle, and perhaps he has his own aura lines, just the one. Once I have completed all my aura lines, I'll nip round and see if any of the drama areas I've missed a little bit with my pen, just to gently fill up the black. And that is our completed pen work. So I'm going to switch now to my pencil, and I'm just going to do some very simple shading here. I'm just going to shade around my border. So just in between the areas where I popped a little bit of black, I'm just going to put down a little bit of graphite. Gently into the corners, into the angles, just around the circumference of my original border string. There's no point in me wasting graphite on the parts that are already black. So I'm just filling in the little bits in between my crescents. It shouldn't take you too long. But it'll take you however long it takes you. Don't rush. We've only a few minutes needed. We don't need to rush those. Once I've got my graphite down, I'll just pick up my blending tool, my tortillon, and I'm just going to use this to pull the graphite out into the space. Tortillons or paper stumps are wonderfully blending tools, just for easing the graphite out into the space. If it's a new one that you're working with, it may just take a little bit of encouragement to get started. Each time rotating the tile round to make it easy on yourself and do the same repetitive stroke. enjoy the little noise as you push the graphite into the texture of the piece of paper or card that you're using. Really focus on that noise. Because I had one little crescent in here, I might just throw in an extra bit of graphite around that last aura on the centre, and use again my torsion to pull it out into the space. Once you're happy with the way that your graphite has blended into the tooth of the paper, you might say it's almost done. So this is where we just take a moment to appreciate again. Just admire your tile. Perhaps you might want to rotate it round and see how it looks in slightly different angles or positions. Maybe there's a right way up, maybe there's not. And when we finally finished, we want to add our chop. So I've just got a little bit of space here. My chop is my little mark, my little emblem that I use on my artwork. So when I've added my chop, I can set it down and I can admire. Thank you for joining me on day 1. So these are 3 different versions that I've done on different shapes of tiles, and I know that yours won't look like mine. There are lots of different ways to draw crescent moon, so I hope you've enjoyed a little time of mindful tangling, and you'll join me again tomorrow.